Hey, I'm Hybrid Joe, and today I'll be showing you the exact arm routine that took me from this to this. While training arms might sound simple, there are some neglected muscles that are very important to having huge arms. To have huge arms, there are four major muscle groups that you must focus on. First is of course the biceps, then the triceps, then the brachialis, then your forearms. First, let's start off with biceps. You only really need like two exercises for biceps. One that targets the long head and one that targets the short head. My recommendations for those would be Bayesian curls and preacher curls. And those two exercises complement each other very well because Bayesian curls really focuses on the stretch of the bicep and the long head, while preacher curls focuses on the short head and the contraction of the bicep. I'd recommend doing only 2 to 3 sets, but each set till actual failure, with heavy weight. And if you're training calisthenics, you can replace it with chin-ups and pelican curls. Chin-ups are for the short head and pelican curls are for the long head. Now, let's move on to the triceps. The triceps are one of the most important muscles to having big upper arms, and it's also one of the most neglected. Since the triceps are actually bigger than the biceps, so they cover up more space in the upper arm. For bodybuilding, I'd recommend doing any tricep pushdown and any overhead exercise with triceps. Like for example, the overhead tricep extension where you go like this with the rope. The tricep pushdown targets the medial and the lateral head, while the overhead tricep extension targets the long head. The medial head is also targeted in many of your pushing exercises like bench press, incline bench press, etc. People often neglect the long head and don't do overhead tricep extension. But this is a big mistake because the long head is actually the biggest head of your triceps. Now let's move on to the brachialis. This muscle is so simple to train, but is also the most forgotten. All you need to do to train the brachialis is do any type of hammer curl, whether it's a normal hammer curl or a cross-body hammer curl. Whatever works best for you. And now for forearms, this is the most controversial one. Because people think forearms get enough work from hammer curls and they get enough work from your pull exercises or your back exercises, but that's simply not true. I learned this the hard way, and for the first few months of training, I actually didn't train forearms. And I saw progress in my upper arms, but I've always seen that I've had small forearms, and I still suffer from it today. For forearms training, I'd recommend doing wrist curls and reverse wrist curls. These two exercises will basically target all the important muscle groups in your forearms. If you can do that, you can also do rise bucket training, which is very, very popular on the internet nowadays, and for good reason. When I did it, I had the biggest forearm pump I've ever had in my whole life, because it targets all of the little stabilizer muscles you wouldn't even think of. And the best part about it, you can do it at home. I hope this helps you. Good luck on your journey.